Hi, it's Matt from Milwaukee Record.
And this is Kristin from Wisconsin.
And this is Hello, Kristin. How are you? It feels like I haven't seen you in a little while. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again. I am double vaxxed. So that's new as of this week. So that's very exciting. I got 14 days since from the day of your shot. So I'm down to like 11 days. So I'm fully inoculated.
I think I'm right, maybe a little bit ahead of you. Yeah, I am double vaccinated as well. And I think I have it was on a Wednesday. So I have a little less than a week to go before I get it's 2 weeks, right?
I think it's 14, 2 weeks, 14 days. And I'm sure you just feel the same. So I don't know what, if it's like something shifts in your body, you're like, oh, now I feel it, but
Right.
I'm guessing not.
There's all these people who are like, oh, I feel like a Superman or a Superwoman right now. I'm like, I feel the same. I feel as crummy as I ever have for my entire life, really.
Yeah, I felt, I don't know what your symptoms were, but mine were moderate. I had some headache, my back hurt, was a little tired, but less from shot to feeling totally back to normal, less than 48 hours. So nothing to really complain about.
I got hit pretty hard about exactly 24 hours after I got my shot.
Oh,
and suddenly it was like fever and chills and every like bone in my body was aching and I felt terrible for about 8 hours. I was kind of in a fog. I finally made it home, just kind of laid down and that was it. But it was like an afternoon into the evening, not the worst thing I've ever done. So it was fine. I largely refrained from mentioning that on social media, not because I wanted to scare people about the second shot, but because I didn't want to get yelled at by other people who would accuse me of scaring other people like into getting their second vaccination. Because that's what it's all about now, is just yelling at people, and that's what it's always been about. Let's be honest.
Well, that's everything, the touch and go of what are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? Which side is going to be mad at us if we do things too soon? Which I think kind of goes into maybe one of our first topics, which is the do we, don't we of events and festivals for this summer. And who's going to have an opinion about it and who's deciding what criteria they're using to either go forward or not. But do you have the roll call of where we stand?
Well, the big one, I think, this past week was the Wisconsin State Fair, the big old fair out there in West Allis. They announced that it's all systems go. They are going ahead. The fair is August 5th through the 15th. If you're not familiar with the fair, it's a great time. It was canceled, of course, in 2020. They did have a little action at the State Fair over the last year. It was the site of the COVID field hospital. So it wasn't completely empty in 2020. We had a lot of
fun and games, but it was used.
Yeah, right. There were people there. I don't know how many people were there at any given time, how many patients. I know it was some. I mean, it was never like over.
I don't think it was ever overflowing. No. I think that was kind of some of the pushback was, oh, we opened this up and it's kind of empty.
Yeah, maybe a dozen people. I don't know the numbers. But anyway, the State Fair announced that, yep, we are going ahead. They had a pretty hilarious survey on their social media for the past couple of weeks, a real detailed survey asking, would you feel comfortable attending the fair if we had it in 2021? What would your opinion be of vendors who may or may not participate in the fair if we have it in 2021? All these kind of detailed questions. Finally, they came back this week with the results of their highly scientific poll. And according to the State Fair, 78% of respondents said they absolutely would consider or would go to the State Fair this year. 17% said they would consider it. So by my math, if my math is correct, that means only 5% of people said no way. So I guess the State Fair said, sounds good, and we are going ahead. So August 5th through the 15th.
I'm so curious of who they chose to how they disseminated that polling to see who do you think they did like the same standards that most polling like Gallup does as far as having like a wide range and making sure like the weighted percentages for like white middle-aged men and black kids from 16 to 18 and like I'm guessing no.
I'm guessing no. Yeah. Judging from the Facebook comments, well, I probably don't even have to say what the Facebook comments suggested, but yes, it was just a lot of angry people saying, why wouldn't you have the fair? Of course I would go. Okay. So 78%. The interesting thing about this, when the State Fair announced that they were going ahead, there was this little line in the press release, which I found fascinating. They said increased sanitation protocols are already in place throughout the 200-acre fair park. The Wisconsin State Fair is over 3 months away. Therefore, final health and safety protocols will be determined as we approach the fair dates. So they're kind of hedging their bets here, I guess. They're playing it safe. They're not saying if you have to wear a mask or if you don't have to wear a mask. I assume if they would have gone ahead and said, hey, you have to wear a mask, we'd have a whole new round of people being upset about that. So it's interesting that they're kind of
say something like you had like the dreaded vaccine passport of being like having that as a requirement for you to be able to get entries to show that you've been vaccinated. That would be an interesting response.
That's a thing that really exists, right?
Anyone, like I've been thinking about this a lot lately as far as like what incentives, both goofy and real, it'll take people to get the vaccine. Because there was a story that this week that has nothing to do with Wisconsin or Milwaukee, but the Alaska congresswoman who is now banned from Alaska Airlines because she kept refusing to wear a mask. So now she has like an impossible commute to try to get to DC. But I feel like that's like the first of these cases of what are you willing to do to stick to your high ground, if you want to call it that, to not wear a mask or not get vaccinated. And like, but then on the flip side of like, what if there was tax incentives? Or even like, I think you tweeted out that the Bucks this weekend are having like a mobile vaccination site, but like how many more people would show up if you were like promised to like fist bump with Giannis? I bet a lot more. And
I wonder if we'd get into if something like that would run afoul of similar incentives we saw for voting the last time around. Like, oh no, Giannis may be at the Pfizer Forum, so that's illegal. We can't have that. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure somebody would sue.
Yeah, right? I forgot that was a whole thing.
I know it feels like a million years ago, right? Remember the election?
They try to get people to like incentivize people to vote, like, and make it like cooler and sexier by adding some sports stars in there. God, what a crime!
It is. It is terrible. As for other festivals this summer, another big one that announced that they were going ahead was the Bristol Renaissance Fair out there near Kenosha. That is, I think it starts in July. That runs through September. That's only on Saturdays and Sundays, and I think Labor Day as well. They announced that they're going ahead, the turkey legs and all, huzzah, the whole Ren Fair shtick. And they will be wearing masks. Masks will be required at the Ren Fair, which
over the shining armor knighthood, like that's not considered CDC approved?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. But the Ren Fair seems like a no-brainer to wear some sort of face covering, right? Whether it's CDC approved or not, it seems only natural to me. But some people were, like everything, some people were really excited, like, oh, yay, the Ren Fair is back. Great, I'll wear a mask. Other people were horrified that they would even dream of having it this summer. And then there was a small subset I saw of people who were saying they were going to take their Ren Fair dollars, their Ren Fair doubloons elsewhere because they weren't wearing no mask at the Ren Fair. And
wait, what is a doubloon?
I don't know. It's like a, I don't know, like a gold piece, a gold nugget. I don't know. I just think of like the Goonies, right? Don't they find a bunch of doubloons? I don't know. Something with pirates.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Take their, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is we're getting into a point that, I don't know. I feel like I was becoming so much more moderate on this, but it's just as we all get vaccinated, it's like going to start to become just a choice, right? Like we can't do this forever. I mean, we've already done like accomplished a huge heroic scientific feat in developing a vaccine this quickly.
Mm.
And for those of us who want to take the vaccine and trust that like things can start to get back to normal, if you don't believe that, then don't go.
I kind of feel the same way. I feel strangely, not that I've ever been anti-mask or anti-anything, but
Totally.
I do feel like I am becoming more moderate as we do get better. Of course, this week, the other big news was the CDC kind of relaxed some rules for folks who are double vaccinated or fully vaccinated, saying that I guess if you are fully vaccinated, you can walk around outside without a mask. I think that was kind of the main takeaway, right?
Yeah, and I am feeling like a bad person because I haven't been wearing a mask outside. Like I think if I passed people, I would kind of like cover my face with my shirt or something like that. For the most part, I kind of always thought like that's why we're having outdoor venues and there's so much outdoor seating and stuff. So I don't know if I just totally misread that one or if I'm just a bad person, but good that it's updated.
Yeah, it's I'm happy to see it. Judging from the response on Twitter and Facebook and social media, which I know you should never take never use that as a barometer of anything really, but it was a really interesting response that I saw from a lot of like friends of mine and just people I know saying that, oh yay, they're relaxing this, you can wear masks outside, but I'm going to still wear my mask. Anytime I go outside, I'm going to still wear my mask and I'm going to do that indefinitely, which I suppose is fine. If someone wants to do that, terrific. But there was this kind of like edge of anger to it as well, of people saying like, I'm still going to wear a mask because I'm an adult and it's so easy. And why wouldn't you continue to wear a mask? And I'm thinking, well, because they're telling us we don't have to if we're vaccinated and it's outside. I don't know. So it feels, personally for me, it feels like I spent the last year trying to do my part to normalize mask wearing. And now I feel that it's kind of my duty to normalize not wearing a mask, at least outside. It feels like, and I kind of did it this morning when I was walking down the street. I kind of automatically had it on. And at one point I just kind of took it off and passed a few people and it felt kind of weird, but I don't know. It feels like my duty to take off that mask outside. I don't know. It's so strange how it's changed.
It's so strange how it's changed. And yeah, again, choice. If you want to continue wearing a mask, wear a mask. I mean, I think what will be interesting is the same stereotype I feel like Americans have had of different Asian countries because they've been wearing masks for a while, like when they travel, just in general. And that's not only just because of the history of SARS and stuff, but it's also because their pollution is so bad. Mm-hmm. But if that's just becomes normal, as far as people continue, there's going to be certain people who just feel safer with it on, which is fine. But again, it goes back to choice of like, you can choose to do that. And there's going to be those of us who aren't going to do that. But I will say wearing a mask during the winter outside was pretty great. It was actually, it really helped in my first winter back in Wisconsin. I didn't mind it in those winter months, but in the summer, it makes it a little bit harder to breathe. And
I think a lot of people, like I can say for myself, forget COVID or whatever, just I haven't been sick in a year, which is kind of wild to think. And I'm usually good for one or two big sicknesses every year. And that just hasn't happened. Like the most sick I've been is from the second vaccination. And that was just like an afternoon.
Yeah, I think that is same. I kept comparing it to like the vaccine symptoms. It just felt like a bad hangover, but I've actually had worse hangovers. And I also felt like a lot of the people who were the remedies they were suggesting, also hangover remedies. Someone told me to get like pho. Someone told me to drink Pedialyte. I was like, these sound familiar, but not because of COVID.
Right. Some emergency, some of that stuff. Yeah. Pour that in some water. You'll be fine. So It's yeah, who knows? It's just a typical, I think it feels like we're in this weird kind of transition phase right now, slowly getting back, and we're all feeling it out. It's going to be strange. Maybe it'll just be a strange summer, but I hope we get back to something.
I think we will. I think we'll get back to, I think it'll be more normal than it was last summer, but probably not full capacity or full throttle, whatever full analogy you want to go with.
Speaking of full, this is the worst segue. I don't know this. I'm just going to go with it. Milwaukee has been full with, I don't know. This is just me saying Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris is coming to Milwaukee. I don't know I don't know where I was going with that. Please.
Oh, you're going. It's full of executive branch appearances.
Thank you.
In 2021, which I saw where you're going with that.
Thank you.
So I think it was yesterday, which was Wednesday. We're recording this on Thursday. Kamala Harris is coming on Tuesday next week to push the bounce back plan. And I just think it's interesting. It's good, but outside of an election year, when has Milwaukee or Wisconsin gotten this much love from random appearances from the president or vice president? Because Biden was just here in January, February?
He was speaking at the PAPS, wasn't it? The big thing for CNN. Yeah.
It was the same night as, no, it wasn't the same night as the State of the State. It was the same night as Evers' budget thing. Because I remember,
right.
specifically because I did a video joking about how Biden just kind of like rained on his parade.
Poor Tony.
I know you announced this in like December or like November, but I'm just going to come on the exact night that you had this other thing planned. Sorry.
Yeah, it's wild when you think back. Like, you're right. It just has not happened like this in recent history at all. Like maybe once in a while, Bill Clinton would drop by for something, or I don't remember. Like, I mean, Obama was here and there, but I mean, it's kind of unprecedented how much love Wisconsin and Milwaukee is getting from the president, vice president. The more I thought about it, the one thing I thought of was, and it was a sad thought, it was just what a huge bust the pretty much non-existent 2020 DNC turned out to be for Milwaukee. It's almost takes my breath away when I remember that was supposed to be this huge thing, and it just did not happen at all.
I know. And I know it's so bad for so many reasons, about like the investments that were made that were never, like the money that they thought they were going to get the returns on and everything. It just would have been such a great highlight. I feel like I think it was Daily Beast a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, that had, why is everyone so surprised when I say that Milwaukee, like when they find out Milwaukee's great? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would have been an option, because I made something last year trying to highlight why Milwaukee is great, and like because the DNC is not going to be here, and it was making that video that was like, I want to move here, I want to live here because Milwaukee is great. And I feel like that really would have been an opportunity for not only all the people who, like the 50,000 people who were going to show up and be in Milwaukee, also just like the TV coverage and everything. And so I think it was a huge loss in so many ways, and fingers crossed that maybe 2024 they'll bring it back.
That's kind of the thing, I guess. I mean, people have been talking about that for a while, like ever since it was clear that the 2020 version was not going to be anything. There's been, talk. I don't know. I mean, that's so far off. I don't even want to think about it right now, to be honest.
Well, and there's also so many people at play, as far as I've heard mixed reactions as far as what the negotiation became with the Bucks and Fiserv, and what the compromise and trying to recoup costs and stuff. And like, who was it, Milwaukee's best interest or the Bucks owner's best interest? And everyone's got an opinion, but I think there is more to that story as far as who's going to be advocating for it to come back.
Well, it looks like we're almost out of time, but as we do every time, before we leave, before we depart, we like to check in with our favorite senior senator from Wisconsin in a little segment we like to call Mandatory Johnson.
I never know if you want me to say it with you.
I know it's kind of hard to do it, right? Like over Zoom, right? I think we tried it once and it just didn't work. So I don't know. Sorry. Next time, feel free to.
No. I always want to like act along. And it's like, am I supposed to say it too?
Sorry.
We'll
figure it out. Anyway, so what has Ron Johnson been up to this week, the previous weeks? I feel like we could fill a whole show once again with Mr.
It's
Johnson.
wild how consistent it is. The fact that we have, this is what, our third episode? Fourth episode?
Yes.
Third episode. And it's just consistent that like, it's not even like we have to like go back a couple weeks to the thing he did last. It's like literally at least every other week, he's pretty good for something that is embarrassing.
It really is. One that jumped out to me, he was recently on a conference call to some of his constituents, and he was talking about, take a guess. He was talking about the vaccine. He's talking about masks, talking about the whole thing. And he had this to say over this conference call. He said, I think as more evidence comes in, it's becoming harder and harder to support that masks actually work. If they would have worked, we probably wouldn't have had as many infections, as many deaths as we did. But be that as it may, I was just on a plane and I wore a mask the entire time, which great. Thank you, Ron. And there was more, right? He was talking a lot about the vaccine,
like vaccines and like this. He's like very skeptical of the push to get everyone vaccinated now. And like the thing is, and I've been thinking about this more recently because I tend to forget that he was the CEO of a plastics company prior to becoming a senator and had no political experience before this. But like being a plastics company, I feel like you have to work with scientists, right? Like, are they, I mean, they're creating and making like, it's like chemical engineers, I'm guessing.
right.
And do you think he was this skeptical of those scientists all the time? Or is it just because it's politically advantageous for him now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, what drives me nuts about, and not to spend too much time here on mandatory Johnson, but what drives me nuts about it, and so many people like him, it's just, there's something so dull and just obvious about their contrarianism. It's just like, if I thought for 20 seconds about any issue and thought like, what's the lamest contrarian take I can come up with? That's typically the take that like people like Ron Johnson just go with. It's like just the most obvious, just low energy contrarian take, and they're just gonna stick to their guns. They're gonna die on that really dull hill. I don't know. There's just something so unimaginative about it.
Yeah, it's basically like every Republican who attended Biden's speech last night, like, and they caught like either whether it was Ted Cruz or Mitch McConnell, and all of them like not clapping for jobs or like not clapping for things. It's like, isn't this like universally supported that like we want this no matter what side you're on? And they're just like, no, because of that.
Yeah, it's just. But anyway, that was, let's try it now. Mandatory
Johnson.
So it was nice catching up with you. Thanks for chatting. And yeah, we'll get together again soon.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.